Hi guys, I am here to read you chapters 18 and 19 of Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library. Chapter 18. The contestants raced down the stairs to the Rotunda reading room. Kyle saw Haley Daly dash down another set of steps into the basement to what the floor plan called the stacks. Miguel and Andrew, the two library experts, grabbed separate tables and started working the touchscreen computers. Bridget Wadge did the same thing. Charles Chiltington strolled out the arched doorway and into the foyer with the fountain. Yasmin Smith Snyder was running around the circular room with her floor plan in front of her face, like someone frantically checking their text messages while racing down a crowded sidewalk. Sierra Russell found a comfy chair and sat down to finish her book. The girl definitely wasn't into the whole spirit of the game. "So, Kyle," said Akimi, "you want to form an alliance?" "What do you mean?" "It's what people do on reality shows like Survivor. We help each other until, everyone else is eliminated, and then we have to stab each other in the back." I don't remember hearing anything about eliminations. Oh, right. But hey, there was nothing in the rules that said we couldn't share the top prize. I just want to win. Cool, so we're a team? Sure. Great, said Akimi. "I nominate you to be our captain. All in favor, raise their hands." Kyle and Akimi both raised their hands. "It's unanimous," said Akimi. "Okay, let's go to the antique librarian. Let's go ask that antique librarian a question." "What? We both get to ask one question, right?" "Right. Okay, here's mine. Hey, lady, how do we get out of here?" "And you think she'll tell you?" "No, not really. So what's your plan?" "Well, I was thinking," and then suddenly Yasmin shouted, "I win!" The rest of them stopped whatever they were doing. It's just like last night when Kyle found dessert in the most obvious place. To get out of the library, all we have to do is use one of the fire exits. Duh. She headed toward a hallway between the Book Nook Cafe and the community meeting room A. Kyle stood up. Yasmin, I think you missed somewhat of..." Charles Chiltington dashed into the room and shouted, "You're not going to win, Yasmin, not unless you beat me to that fire exit." He bolted toward the corridor. Yasmin bolted toward it too. "You guys?" said Kyle. Kyle could see a red X light glowing at the far end of the hallway. Charles and Yasmin were both sprinting down. Charles stumbled and fell. Yasmin kept running. Harder, faster. She slammed into the exit bar on the metal door. An alarm sounded everywhere. Flashing red lights were swirling. Somewhere a tiger roared. Mr. Lemoncello's voice rang out over the overhead speakers. "Sorry, Yasmin, that's where your sidewalk ends. You broke the rules. You are out of the game. Your library card will be placed in the discard bowl, and you will be going home." As the fire exit door slowly swung shut and Yasmin disappeared into a bright sunshine outside the library, Kyle checked out Charles Chiltington, who would have been sent home if he hadn't stumbled and hadn't reached the exit first. And he had reached the exit first. The guy was smirking. That was when it hit Kyle. Chiltington had faked Yasmin out. He knew that she couldn't win by going out a fire exit, but he ran down the hall to fool her into thinking she was doing the right thing. Oh, yeah, Chiltington was definitely in it to win it, no matter who he had to trample. Whistling casually, Charles strolled back to the lobby. "What's Chiltington doing out in the entrance hall?" said Akimi. "They told us that the way out isn't the way in." Before Kyle could answer, Andrew Peckelman started shouting at Miguel, who had wandered over to Peckelman's table. "Get away! You're trying to steal my idea." "No, ma'am," said Miguel. "I just happened to see your screen, and I don't think that particular periodical..." "You know what, Miguel? I don't really care what you think. This isn't school. This is a public library, and you're not the boss in here. So just leave me alone." Miguel tossed up his hands. "No problem, bro. I was just trying to help you out." "Ha! You mean help me lose?" Andrew stormed up the closest spiral staircase to the second floor and the Dewey Decimal System rooms. Miguel, looking sort of sad, headed up a separate spiral staircase. Bridget Wadge trailed after them. "Want to follow those guys like Bridget did?" whispered Akimi. "I'll take Peckelman, you take Miguel." "No thanks," said Kyle, looking up at the domed ceiling. "I'm much more interested in the windows up there." 3 stories above the rotunda floor, just below the Wonder Dome, there was a series of 10 arched windows set between the recessed statue nooks. The windows acted like skylights at the base of the dome, allowing sunshine to flood into the room below. Do you think those windows open? Asked Akimi. Maybe, or maybe not. But I've never let a closed or locked window stand between me and winning a game. Just ask my dad. What? Never mind. Come on. Kyle trotted over to the cushy chair where Sierra Russell was peacefully reading her book. Excuse me. I hate to interrupt, but Sierra raised her head. She had a very dreamy look in her eyes. I need a book. Really? Said Sierra. What kind? Like the one you found, up there. He gestured to the curving bookcases climbing up the back half of the rotunda. Fiction, said Sierra. Right, said Kyle. I love me some fiction. Well, what sort of story do you like? Something like way up high, said Kyle. The higher the better. Really? Yep. Well, that's an interesting way to put together a reading list, basing it on bookcase elevation. I'd like something on the top shelf, maybe right under the hologram statue of that guy hanging out with the cat in the hat. That's Dr. Seuss, said Sierra. He wrote The Cat in the Hat. Sweet, said Kyle, but I just like how close he is to that window. Chapter 19. Oh, Mrs. Tobin, Akimi called out. I need to use my library consultation. You're sure about this? Said Kyle. That's the beauty of being a team. After we burn through mine, we'll still have yours. The hologram librarian appeared and advised Akimi that Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain was the book located right underneath the holographic image of Dr. Seuss and the Cat in the Hat. After Mrs. Tobin vanished, Kyle and Akimi used their desktop computer to find the call number for Huckleberry Finn, grabbed a pen and scribbled it down on his palm. Kyle grabbed a pen and scribbled it down on his palm. Are you going to do what I think you're going to do, said Akimi. Yep, I'm going to float up there, hoist myself into that nook where the hologram is, reach over to the window, push it open, and stick out my hand. Technically, I would still have found my way out of the library. Nothing in the rules said anything about how far outside we had to go to win. You could fall. I don't think so. I'm wiry, like a monkey. Seriously, Kyle, it isn't worth it. Yes it is. Did I mention that I want to win? You should improvise a safety harness, suggested Sierra Russell. Huh? Well, in this adventure book I read once, the hero was in a very similar predicament. So he removed the curled handset wires from several telephones, bundled them together, and made a safety rope. 10 minutes later, Kyle, Akimi, and Sierra had stripped their springy wires off a couple of telephone handsets. Kyle looped the cables around his waist and tied the other end to the handrail over the hover ladder. When fully extended, the safety rope would stretch out a little more than 20 feet. It should work. Be careful up there, said Akimi. Yes, said Sierra, who wasn't reading her book anymore. Apparently watching a real-life person risk his real life by doing something really, really scary was one thing more exciting than reading. Kyle locked his feet into the hover ladder ski boot brackets. Here we go. Serious adrenaline raced through his body as he tapped the call number for Huckleberry Finn into the hover ladder's book locator. Sorry, I lost my place. When you open the window, said Akimi, just shout, I found the way out, and we win. Right, said Kyle, all three of us. Huh? Hey, Sierra came up with the safety rope idea. Sorry. Siri thought I was talking to her. Hey, Sierra came up with the safety rope idea. She's on our team now. Fine, whatever, just don't break your neck. Not part of the plan. Kyle pressed the entire button to the control panel. On the control panel, the platform floated up off the ground and drifted slightly to the right. Be careful, said Akimi. Watch it. I'm not doing anything, said Kyle. This thingamajiggy is doing all the work on its own. I'm just along for the ride. Kyle gripped the handles as the platform rose higher and higher. He sailed past the books by Tolstoy and Thackeray. Tilting back his head, he looked up at the semi-transparent statues projected into the curved niches next to the arched windows. They were a weird mix. A thoughtful African-American man in a three-piece suit and a bow tie, a guy with long curly hair, old-fashioned clothes, and a looking glass, a long-haired dude in a scruffy shirt hiding behind cutouts of the letters P and B, a bald guy with a beard. Since the statues were really holographic projections, they had chisel-type labels floating in front of their pedestals identifying who the famous people were. The ones closest to Kyle were George Orwell, Lewis Carroll, Dr. Seuss, and Maya Angelou. As he continued to climb, Kyle could hear the soft whir of the electromagnets invisibly lifting him toward the ceiling. And then he heard something much louder. What a ridiculous idea! Charles Chiltington. He was standing on the second floor balcony at the far side of the rotunda. You know, Keeley, I thought about doing the same thing, but then I noticed something you obviously overlooked. There's a wire mesh security screen on the other side of those windows. The levitating platform stuttered to a stop. Enjoy staring at the ceiling, Keeley. I'm off to win yet another game. Kyle ignored Chiltington and grabbed hold of the ledge beneath Dr. Seuss's berth. He tried to haul himself up, but his feet wouldn't budge. They were locked in place by those ski boot clamps. And this close to the skylights, Kyle could see that Chiltington was right. There was a security screen on the other side of the windows. Kyle checked his wristwatch. It was 1 p.m. He and his teammates had wasted an hour on the lame window idea. He sighed heavily and stared up at the quivering Seuss projection in the bowed niche above his head. The cat in the hat's mouth started to move. Think left and think right, and think low and think high. Kyle recognized that voice. It was Mr. Lemoncello. Oh, the things you can think up if you only try. In other words, Kyle was back to square one. He needed to think up a whole new escape plan. The ladder began a slow and steady descent to the floor, even though Kyle hadn't pushed a button. Don't listen to Smarty Pants Charles, Akimi coached as Kyle coasted toward the floor. It was worth a shot. I agree, said Sierra. A blood-curdling scream came ringing up the staircase from the basement. That's Haley, said Akimi. I saw her go downstairs. What? That's where the stacks are, added Sierra. Come on, said Kylie. She could be in some serious trouble, said Kyle. She could be in some serious trouble. You should never help your competition, Keeley, scoffed Charles as he casually strolled down the spiral staircase. Unless, of course, you always plan to lose.